My name is Rosa Martinez, and I'm 76 years old. I came to America 52 years ago with $20 in my pocket, a cardboard suitcase, and a heart full of dreams I didn't even know I had yet. People ask me all the time, why did you leave? Why would you leave your family, your home, everything you knew? And I tell them the same thing. I didn't leave because I wanted to. I left because I had to. Sometimes survival looks like courage, but really it's just fear with nowhere else to go. This is my story, and if you're watching this feeling lost, feeling like you don't belong, feeling like you'll never make it, I want you to hear every word, because that $20 didn't change my life. What I did with it did. I was born in a small village in Mexico in 1949. We were poor, but we didn't know we were poor because everyone around us was the same. My father worked in the fields. My mother took in washing from the richer families in town. I was the oldest of 6 children. When I was 17, I married Miguel. He was 20, handsome, and he promised me we'd have a better life. I believed him because I was young and hopeful. We had our first baby, Maria, when I was 18. Then came Carlos a year later. Miguel worked hard, but there was never enough. Never enough food, never enough money, never enough hope. He'd come home exhausted, and I'd watch him count coins that would never be enough to feed 4 people, let alone 6 when my parents needed help too. One day Miguel came home with a look in his eyes I'd never seen before. He told me he was going to California. He'd heard there was good work in the farms up north. He said he'd send money back, that in 1 year we'd have enough saved for me and the children to join him. I was 23 years old with 2 babies, and I watched my husband leave with everything we had. $35. That's what we had in the world. The first month, money came. Not much, but something. The second month, a little more. By the third month, nothing. The 4th month, still nothing. My neighbors whispered. My mother cried. Everyone thought the same thing. He left you. He's not coming back. But I didn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Because if Miguel abandoned us, then I had nothing. No husband, no money, no future. Just 2 hungry children and parents who were barely surviving themselves. 6 months went by. No money, no letters, nothing. I made a decision that terrified me. I was going to find him. I was going to go to America, find my husband. And if he had abandoned us, I'd look him in the eyes and ask him why. And if something had happened to him, I'd find work and send money back to my children. My mother thought I was crazy. She begged me not to go. How can you leave your babies? How can you cross the border alone? You don't even speak English. You'll die out there. But I had already died a little bit every day, watching my children go hungry. So dying while trying to save them didn't scare me as much as watching them suffer. I sold everything we had. A small gold bracelet my grandmother left me, our wedding rings. I got $85. I gave $65 to my mother for the children and kept $20 for my journey. A woman in the village knew someone who could get people across. I met him in the dark, behind the church. He looked at me like I was already dead. He said it would cost $18. I gave him $15 and told him that's all I had. He took it. There were 8 of us, 3 men, 4 women, and me. We walked for 3 days through the desert. I had 1 bottle of water and a piece of bread wrapped in cloth. By the 2nd day, the bread was gone. By the 3rd day, the water was gone too. 1 woman collapsed. She just fell. The man leading us said we had to keep going. One of the men, an older man with kind eyes, stayed with her. We never saw them again. I prayed the entire way. I prayed to God, to the Virgin Mary, to my grandmother's spirit. I prayed that if I died out there, someone would tell my children I tried, that their mother didn't abandon them, that I loved them more than my own life. On the third night we made it across California, America, the promised land. I had $5 left, $5 and nowhere to go. The man who brought us across dropped us at a gas station just before sunrise. He pointed north and said, "That way to the city." Then he was gone. I stood there in clothes covered in dust, my shoes falling apart, my lips cracked and bleeding from thirst. I used 50 cents to buy a small bottle of water. It was the best water I ever tasted in my life. I had an address. Miguel had written it in his first letter. A farm outside of Fresno, where he said he'd found work. I showed the paper to everyone I met. Most people ignored me. Some laughed. One man spit near my feet and told me to go back where I came from. But then I met her, an older black woman working at a diner. I showed her the address and she studied my face for a long moment. Then she said, "Baby, that's 40 miles from here. You got money for a bus?" I showed her my $4.50. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I started to cry. Not because I was sad, but because someone finally saw me as a human being. She bought me breakfast, eggs, toast, coffee. I ate like I'd never seen food before. Then she made a phone call. Her cousin's husband worked on a farm near that address. He was coming to town that afternoon and could give me a ride. I worked in that diner washing dishes for 6 hours, and she paid me $3. When her cousin's husband arrived, she hugged me and whispered in my ear, "You're braver than you know." The man drove me to the farm. We didn't speak. He didn't speak Spanish and I didn't speak English. But when we arrived, he pointed to a row of small houses and nodded. I got out and started walking. My heart was beating so hard I thought it would break through my chest, because in a few minutes I'd know the truth. Was my husband alive? Did he abandon me? Was this all for nothing? I knocked on the first door. A man answered, looked at me confused and shook his head. The second house, same thing. The third house, a woman opened the door. I said Miguel's name and she gasped. She started speaking rapidly in Spanish. "Your husband," she said. "He's been in the hospital. There was an accident at the farm 2 months ago. He fell from a ladder. His back, his legs, he's been hurt badly. My whole body went cold." She gave me the address of a clinic in town. I ran. I didn't walk, I ran. 3 miles down that dusty road in shoes that were already broken. When I found the clinic, I asked for him at the desk. The nurse looked at me suspiciously. "Are you family?" I told her I was his wife. She said he'd been asking for someone to contact his family, but he couldn't remember the exact address. He'd been confused, in pain, worried. She took me to a room, and there he was. My Miguel. He'd lost so much weight. His leg was in a cast. His face was pale and drawn. When he saw me, he started to cry. He thought he'd lost everything. The accident happened, he couldn't work, he couldn't send money, and he had no way to contact me. He'd been trapped in that hospital bed, in pain, terrified that I thought he'd abandoned us. I held him, and we both cried. We cried for the suffering, for the fear, for the months of silence. But we also cried because we'd found each other. Against all odds, I'd found him. Miguel recovered, but he couldn't do farm work anymore. His back never fully healed. We lived in a tiny room, barely bigger than a closet, and I took any job I could find. Cleaning houses, watching children, picking fruit when the season came. Every penny we saved went back to Mexico for our children and my parents. It took us 2 years to save enough to bring Maria and Carlos to America. 2 years of living on almost nothing, working 14-hour days, speaking broken English and facing people who made us feel small. But the day my babies arrived, the day I held them again, every sacrifice became worth it. Life wasn't easy. Miguel worked as a janitor at a school. I cleaned houses for wealthy families in nice neighborhoods. Our children went to American schools and learned English faster than we did. They'd translate for us, help us understand bills, explain things we didn't know. Some people treated us with kindness. Others treated us like we were invisible, or worse, like we were criminals, just for existing. I learned to hold my head high anyway. I learned that my worth wasn't determined by how others saw me. We saved, we sacrificed, we dreamed. And 15 years after I arrived with $20, Miguel and I bought our first house. It was small, needed repairs, in a neighborhood that wasn't fancy, but it was ours, our name on the deed, our piece of the American dream. Maria became a nurse. Carlos became a teacher. They gave us 5 beautiful grandchildren. Those grandchildren, they're doctors, engineers, artists. They've never known the kind of hunger we knew. They've never had to cross a desert to find hope. People ask me if it was worth it. Leaving my home, crossing the desert, working jobs that broke my body and tested my spirit. They ask if I'd do it again. And I tell them yes, 1,000 times yes, because I didn't just survive. I built a life. I gave my children opportunities. I gave my grandchildren a future. But here's what I want young people to understand. That $20 didn't make me successful. The money meant nothing. What mattered was what I carried inside me, the determination, the refusal to give up, the willingness to do whatever it took to protect the people I loved. You don't need a fortune to change your life. You need courage. You need perseverance. You need to believe that you deserve better, even when the world tells you otherwise. I've lived through poverty, separation, discrimination, backbreaking work, and moments where I wanted to quit. But I kept going. And every time I wanted to give up, I thought about my children. I thought about the life I wanted them to have. That's what love does. It makes you stronger than you ever thought possible. Miguel passed away 3 years ago. 50 years of marriage. He never became rich. He never became famous. But he was a good man who worked hard, loved his family, and helped others when he could. That's success. That's a life well lived. Today, I sit in my little house in California, and I think about that girl who crossed the desert with $20. She was terrified. She was alone. She had no idea if she'd survive. But she did. And she built something beautiful from nothing. If you're struggling right now, if you feel like you're starting with nothing, if the world feels impossible and the odds feel stacked against you, remember my story. Remember that millions of us have started with less than nothing and still found a way. You are stronger than you know. You are braver than you feel. And your circumstances right now don't determine your future. Your choices do. Your determination does. Your refusal to quit does. I came to America with $20 in my pocket. I leave behind a legacy of love, perseverance, and hope. That's worth more than all the money in the world. Don't give up. No matter how hard it gets, don't give up. Your story isn't over yet, and the best chapters might still be ahead of you. Keep going. Keep fighting. Keep believing you're going to make it. I promise you, you're going to make it. My name is Rosa Martinez. I'm a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother. I'm an immigrant. I'm an American. I'm a survivor. And if this old woman can cross a desert with $20 and build a life worth living, then you can face whatever challenge is in front of you today. I believe in you. Now you need to believe in yourself. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps you write yours.